Yo, yo, yo. Welcome to Sicko Soundoff. I'm your host tonight, Anthony DiNardo. With me is nobody. Solo show tonight, where we do have some call-ins to do, some stuff to discuss. And I mean, today actually was some newsworthy stuff that happened today. Today was a non-tender deadline. The Pirates, of course, go ahead and non-tender 3 players, it sounds. According to Noah, Hiles confirmed 3. Brian De La Cruz is non-tendered. Connor Joe non-tendered, and Hunter Stratton also non-tendered, though it sounds as if they're going to desire to bring him back on a minor league deal. But that's not what this show is about. This show is about you. This show is about the people wanting to get some stuff off of their chest, want to talk about some things that they just don't get opportunity to. So with that being said, we do have 2 people lined up. We have, of course, OG, who was here, I believe, last week as well. Newcomer Nathan on. We'll bring them on. But first, before we do that, I want everyone to know that's in this show right now. If you look in the chat, there is a link. If you want to come on as well, I'm bringing people on. So you don't have to be just a watcher. You can come on the show. There's a link right there. Go ahead and click on it. You'll enter. I'll be able to bring you on. We're going to get to our first 2 guests first, of course. And in order to guarantee yourself a spot on the show, make sure you do join our Discord. That's where we funnel our guests from. But before we do go any further to get into the show, BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your #1 source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, BetOnline provides you with all the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen. With the largest selection of odds on everything from football, NBA and college basketball, NHL and UFC to MMA, head to BetOnline today to get on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. BetOnline, the game starts here. So, for our very first guest, we have Nathan. What's up?
How are we doing?
Doing very well. How about yourself?
Pretty good on a tender deadline day, but that's not really what I am going to talk about this evening. I think it's a topic that it's been on everyone's mind for years and years and years. I just wanted to plainly talk about the Pirates' inability to get a first baseman or develop a first baseman. It's been a very long time. Probably since the days of Josh Bell, where we had a solid set in stone first baseman, at least for a little bit.
Josh Van Meter didn't do it for you?
John Nagowski a little bit as well. That's in there. I know a lot of people say Santana was clearly the best one. Clearly the best one we got for the 1-year deal. Last season, Rowdy Tellez had, his 3-month of DFA. Please DFA him. Just didn't happen. Then he finally figured it out. But here's the thing with there. Then we have the Brian Reynolds stuff. So a lot of fans are like, he's moving there. I'm one of those. He's probably going to end up moving there. But I think there's better options for a first baseman. And I don't think you have to do it through free agency, because you think in free agency, Christian Walker, Pete Alonso. Those are probably not happening. The more realistic of the 2 is probably a Christian Walker. Now, I've found 2 names. I was bringing this up in the chat earlier. Yandy Diaz is easily my top target. He has a great OPS. He has an OPS of 755. He's a batting champion. He's an all-star, a silver slugger. I think he is a very doable trade. There were rumors about him last trade deadline that possibly the Pirates were in on him. I think it was the Yankees, and the Astros. Nothing ended up going on. He's going to hit you 14 to 20 home runs usually. He's going to provide some power. You can hit him towards the top of the order. You can play him at first base or designated hitter. And he also has played some third base in his career as well. So days Brian Hayes or Jared Chirolo aren't hitting that good. Yandy Diaz is a great option. I think he's a better option to have out there than IKF on those days where he plays third base. And I'm a guy that likes IKF a lot, but I don't see him as an everyday type of guy. Now, another guy that I just thought about today before going on is I saw this on another show I watched, Nathaniel Lowe from the Texas Rangers. Now, he's also on arbitration status. He's not making the most money. And his OPS is a 762, which last season was higher than Yandy Diaz. And he's going to also provide you a lot of pop, 16 to 25 home runs a year. I think this last season was his worst one we have had in a very long time. But I think Nathaniel Lowe is another great option for the Pirates to go out and get, because I don't think he's going to cost as much as a Yandy Diaz. Because we know we as Pirates fans have PTSD from the trades with the Tampa Bay Rays. And I proposed one in the chat earlier that some guys are like, that makes a lot of sense, a Luis Ortiz or a Bailey Falter for a Yandy Diaz. It just makes sense for both sides. The Rays love Pirates pitching prospects. And what wouldn't the Pirates love with a raised power bat that can get some runs in a Yandy Diaz? But I think a trade with the Rangers for Nathaniel Lowe just makes a lot of sense. And I completely get Brian Reynolds to first base is probably going to happen. But why I think it won't happen yet is if you move Reynolds to first, I think your whole outlook of the offseason changes. And now you're stuck getting two outfielders, I think. I think they would have to get a starting left fielder and a starting right fielder. I think Jim brought it up earlier about getting Conforto and Kepler, which I'm a big fan of getting Max Kepler this coming off.
Okay.
As his reference page, let me bring this up very quick, read this off. It's very intriguing just because I noticed this, and this is going to sound awful, but it's the reverse way of a Michael A. Taylor last year. When we went after Michael A. Taylor, he was coming off the greatest season of his career. He had 21 home runs. Max Kepler, every other season, has a straight power season. Great power for him. And he's coming off of a low. So, like from 2016 to 2017, 17 to 19, then he had 20, 36. Then in 2020, COVID season, he hit 9. Then he goes to 19 in 2021, takes that jump. 2022, down to 9 again. 2023, he hit 24. Last season, he hit 8. So I think Max Kepler is an option for the outfield to add some power. He is due for power. But the whole first base thing, I guess that is kind of where I'm at. I think Nathaniel Lowe, Yandy Diaz, I'm really hoping for Yandy Diaz. But yeah, I kind of want the thoughts, what you're thinking.
So, I mean, honestly, I don't hate that. Nathaniel Lowe, you hear us talk, time and time again, especially Jim and I, because we're both in the the Strat League, right? As we mentioned. Lowe's on my team. Very aware of Lowe. I enjoy Lowe. Also on base guy too. For a first baseman, does have some pop, but gets on base. And if there's not a better mold, at least for the old hitting ways, right? Like Nathaniel Lowe is a Pirate in that sense, but a good one. Something the Pirates don't tend to get. I don't hate that at all for that move. I think ultimately, Brian Reynolds to first base makes a lot of sense. I don't know if they're really going to do that this year. I don't trust, and it's not as like I don't trust because it's the incorrect move. I just don't know if they're ready to go all in on that. What Brian said last year was kind of encouraging. Like I want to do what's best for the team, and if they think that's first base, I'll do it. And apparently, he's had a glove for like 3 years, and he's been the one like bringing it up, like I'll do it. So it seems like he's on board. But I can understand like where you're coming from. That's replacing 2 guys in the outfield, and one is a brand new incomer. So like you're essentially having a brand new outfield to start this year. I almost feel as if this year maybe Brian sliding to right, still some stability in the outfield, only have to replace one outfielder per se, and then like a temporary first baseman. That's why I kind of like signing Carlos Santana, because I don't think he's going to be that expensive free agent wise. But it's also like the gap to bridge until Reynolds does eventually go to first. If they do move Reynolds to first, like to me, that's fine. That's really good. I'm just hesitant to think that they're going to do that. But like I'm with you. Yandy definitely has the pop. Also the multi-position, like you mentioned, that helps out. Huge on Low. What's your thoughts on Naylor in Cleveland? If that was even a potential.
Now, Josh Naylor, I'm a big fan of him. I think he would be an amazing power bat. I know there was the trade rumors article that came out last offseason where Josh Naylor, the Seattle Mariners, the Pittsburgh Pirates, might be fits for him. I just don't see that happening because I know Cleveland as well, small market team. I actually think they're going to pay Josh Naylor. I think if there's a team, however, that goes to get him, I think he would fit very well with the New York Yankees. As basic as that sounds, short porch, he has a lot of pop towards that way. He's going to crank home runs, and they're going to be all over him, especially since they just got rid of Anthony Rizzo. They need a first baseman. If they're not in on like a Pete Alonso type of player, which I think they're going to be with those types of star players. I think it was brought up in the chat where someone brought up Juan Soto to the Mets, and then I brought up, well, Pete Alonso, if they get him, he's going to go jump ship to the Yankees. They're going to switch top stars type of thing. But I would love a Josh Naylor. Don't get me wrong. I think he would be a really good, solid bat. I don't think his average can be there sometimes. He kind of had a little fall off after post All-Star break. But I mean, that's expected. He caught surge like very quick. I picked him up in fantasy baseball for practically free because none of my friends really knew who he was at the time. And I was like, oh, I know this guy. He's a great fit. And what happened? He give like 10 points a game almost because he went on that absolute like home run tear. But like, I don't think it will happen. I think he'd be the more expensive type of trade. I think the Guardians are a smart enough team to take a lot of prospect capital from a team. I think they just had that trade with the Cubs where I think they got some pretty solid prospects out of the guy they got rid of. And
Right.
I saw a couple Cubs fans kind of iffy about it. It was like, why did we give up those pretty solid prospects for a reliever? So
But what do Cubs fans know? You know what I mean?
yeah,
Right?
they're dumb.
Cubs fans are dumb.
Yeah.
Not like the Pirates fans over here.
Oh no, we're perfect.
Yeah.
We don't have our issues.
No.
But like, I don't know. I'm kind of I like the Josh Naylor thing. I'm personally leaning towards Andy Diaz. That's probably everyone has their top target in free agency. Everyone's like, oh, I really want like a Ryan O'Hearn that someone said in the chat earlier. People are saying Christian Walker is their top guy. I think a realistic option for the Pittsburgh Pirates is via the trade getting a Yandy Diaz, because I just don't think if Reynolds moves there yet, I don't think they're going to replace Reynolds and get another right fielder as well. I would rather see them get a first baseman, platoon maybe Reynolds, left field, right field, see what happens. Because I just don't see them replacing Reynolds and Brian De La Cruz, who they just got rid of today. 2 outfielders.
Yeah, and let me ask you that real quick too. Slightly transition here, because again, the big news was the non-tenders. So Brian De La Cruz, Connor Joe, both outfielders. Also, Connor Joe plays first base, and Hunter Stratton going to be non-tendered. So, what are your thoughts on that? Real quick.
So I'll start with Brian De La Cruz, because personally, when the chat came around, I was, of course, I guess, fault of this. I was really excited for Brian De La Cruz, just because I was looking at Baseball Reference page, what he was looking like. And with Miami, he was hitting pretty well. And then it was brought up he's kind of like Edward Olivares kind of type of player. And we saw that type of player when he came to Pittsburgh. I respect them actually trying to make a move and going out and getting a solid bat for once. I really do. It just did not work out in the Pirates' way. I'm happy they didn't give up crazy good prospects. I was kind of more upset about McAdoo going, honestly, for the IKF one, just because everyone fell in love with Charles McAdoo. If there was one prospect I didn't like giving up for, that was Shim, the Korean prospects we have. I was really high on him pitching wise. And yeah, like Brian De La Cruz, it happens. I'm kind of sad it didn't work out. The one I'm more upset about is Connor Joe. I actually kind of appreciated what Connor Joe did for the Pirates last couple of years, as funny as that sounds. He wasn't like an impact bat per se, but I'll always say this in the chat. I got to respect Connor Joe for carrying us the entire month of May, because it was brought up before we started. Someone brought it up saying the Pirates probably wouldn't win as much if Connor Joe did not hit as good as he did in May. It could have been a very worse season. I think Connor Joe would be a great bench type asset to any type of team. It was funny. I saw Mets fans on Twitter celebrating this because they're like, oh, Connor Joe's free agent. Let's go get Connor Joe. I've never seen fans desperate for a Connor Joe type of player, but I think he would fit well with the New York Mets. I'm not going to lie. He'd be a very solid platoon.
I think that speaks well because, like you said, I think he was very underappreciated in Pittsburgh, and it's just not his fault.
Yeah.
You know, he's a guy who has a specific role, who can succeed at that role, and he was asked to expand upon it. He's not an everyday player, therefore he wasn't valid. It's like the IKF thing, you know, like IKF is a good ball player. He deserves to be on a winning baseball team. He will help that team out. But if he's your starting shortstop, you're putting him in a situation that brings out the lowest possible value that he's not going to succeed in. So therefore, he becomes the worst version of yourself, and fans turn on you because you're being asked to do something that doesn't benefit you. So I'm with you. Like Connor Joe, he deserves to do like what he did for this time. I mean, we've argued and debated like he might have been the best free agent pickup that Ben Cherington has done, which speaks two ways. But regardless, you know, I think that, yeah, like if he goes to the Mets, anywhere he's put and he goes into the role that he should be in, he's going to succeed. He's going to help them out. I just think for that money, there is a Billy Cook. There's risk in there. Like Connor Joe provides that floor and safety net, but there's a lot of things I like in Billy Cook, especially defensively as well. So like, I'm perfectly okay with losing Connor Joe. Absolutely okay losing Brian De La Cruz. And it sounds like Hunter Stratton's going to come back on a minor league deal. So kudos. Good on that.
Yep.
But yeah. So Nathan, great perspective. Anything else? Last words on the first base situation?
I guess if I give a final prediction, I'm really hoping it's Andy Diaz. I know he
Okay.
said in the chat, Anthony Rizzo, someone said up there earlier, and I was like, please no.
Yeah, Cody is being very sarcastic in that some behind the scenes chat. Yeah, he's not. He says that's very much the Pirates type of move though, and
It would
that's
be
fine.
funny to troll Cubs fans though, if he cranks home runs at Wrigley. Just for that aspect.
If he's good, yeah, I don't foresee that happening. So I don't want to partake in that fun.
Yeah. I'd rather have Goldie than Rizzo, personally. If we were to go after an old division foe, it would be Goldschmidt.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yep.
Because he even had like a decent season, not his standards, but he had a decent one. The decline's there, but
oh yeah,
not that far off from an MVP type year.
Yeah, last season I think was his worst one he's had in a very long time, which is kind of shocking. So,
and it's still better than any of the Pirate seasons that you've mentioned outside of Josh Bell and way back when.
Oh yeah, it's been like John Nagowski. I'll miss those days.
Well, Nathan, appreciate you for coming on. We'll talk to you maybe next time.
Yep. See you later.
See ya. And again, anyone else that wants to come on the show, the link is in the chat. You have something to say, get off your chest, go ahead and do so. We're talking to the non-tender deadlines tonight or more. But before we go and bring on OG Menlo, today's episode is sponsored by Chris Gates Fitness and his online fitness training camp. Chris is a huge Pittsburgh sports fan, longtime supporter of the show, and his training camp membership program is perfect for you if you have health and fitness goals. And what's cool is that from Monday, November 25th, that is this upcoming Monday, by the way, through Monday, December 2nd, Chris is running a massive Black Friday sale where you can get 80% off your first month. Let me tell you a little bit about the program. When you join training camp, you'll get access to brand new workout programs every month, so you can take all the guesswork out of your exercise plan. You'll also get access to weekly coaching calls with Chris in the private training camp community group, where you can get all of your questions answered and receive guided support every step of the way. You also get access to exclusive courses about health and fitness, so you can build your knowledge base and know exactly what to do and when to do it to make progress. And most importantly, you'll join a community full of people there to support you every step of the way, so you never feel lonely in your journey. Not to mention, Chris hosts challenges in the group every month to help push you and make your progress and develop healthy habits. For instance, training camp members have been doing weekly football pick'em all season, in addition to challenges centered around training and nutrition. So far, winners have received, and by the way, this is pretty sweet. Winners have received hundreds of dollars in free supplements, free treadmills, and other home gym equipment, and $150 Amazon gift cards. And in December, they'll be hosting bracket polls for all the college playoffs and NFL playoffs with huge prizes going to the winners. You can use code NS9 between November 25th through December 2nd to sign up for just $10. That is 80% off the monthly price. Head on over to chrisgatesfitness.com/training camp to learn more and sign up today. Now is a great time to get a head start on your fitness goals for 2025 and let Chris and the training camp community help you navigate the holiday season successfully. So with that said, let's go ahead and bring our very next guest, OG Menlo. Welcome back, OG. What's going on, buddy?
Thanks for having me on, DiNardo. Doing all right. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic.
Awesome. So I've got an interesting minor anniversary that turns out to be today. And so I'm going to tell a story about something cool that happened on this date in Pirates history.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. And that's what I've got my Pittsburgh Baseball Club lid on to talk about Bucco history. So in 1954, a 23-year-old Willie Mays played one of his greatest seasons of baseball. It was his first full season in the big leagues. He hit 41 home runs, led the majors batting .345, slugging .667, and was named the National League's most valuable player. His New York Giants upset my dad's 111-win Cleveland Indians to sweep the World Series after Mays' legendary over-the-shoulder catch in deep center field at the Polo Grounds in Game 1. After the ticker tape, Mays opted to spend his winter in Puerto Rico for the first time, playing center field for the Cangrejeros de Santurce. Though Santurce finished in last place the year before, they had more than just the best player in the National League to lead them into the winter of 1954. A 19-year-old Brooklyn Dodgers prospect named Roberto Clemente was also on that Cangrejeros roster. Clemente had been playing for Santurce since 1952 and had only just been signed to a minor league contract with the Dodgers in February of 1954. Santurce's manager was Herman Franks, who was also the Giants' third base coach that year under skipper Leo DeRocher. Franks was purportedly the man stationed with a telescope in the Giants' center field clubhouse at the Polo Grounds, stealing the catcher's signs in 1951 that helped Bobby Thompson hit the shot heard around the world. Franks wanted to develop the young Clemente's fielding, so he held practices every morning at Sixto Escobar Stadium in San Juan with Mays Clemente and a 17-year-old future Hall of Famer named Orlando Cepeda, who worked out with the team and served as the bat boy prior to joining the roster the following year. Cepeda recalled that Mays taught Clemente how to more effectively field ground balls in the outfield and to release the ball more quickly. Cepeda remembered, "I stood near the mound from where Franks hit them to the outfield. Those incoming throws from Clemente and Mays burned my glove hand." You can imagine. Herman Franks put in a good word for Clemente with Branch Rickey, and the Pirates general manager selected Clemente first overall in the November 22nd, 1954 Rule 5 draft, exactly 70 years ago today. But before Roberto Clemente would spend the first of his 18 seasons with the Bucks in 1955, he and Willie Mays patrolled the outfield with Bob Thurman along with a young Don Zimmer at shortstop. The local newspapers nicknamed them El Escuadrón del Pánico, or the Panic Squad. They led Santurce to a resounding Puerto Rico league title with a 47-25 record and a trip to Caracas, Venezuela for the 1955 Caribbean Series in February. There, they defeated the teams from Cuba, Panama, and Venezuela in a round-robin tournament to claim the title, going 5-1 for the series. Mays clinched the series with an 11th inning, 2-out, 2-run walk-off homer. Willie Mays would not play another season of winter ball in the league that would later bear Roberto Clemente's name. He did go on to be given the first Commissioner's Award, which would later also bear Roberto Clemente's name. It's the Roberto Clemente Award now. Right. Willie Mays passed away earlier this year in June at the age of 93. But I thought that was a really cool story. Like the anniversary, it just turned out to be today. I had been reading about that. And I know that whenever they show crowd shots of PNC Park on Clemente Day, sometimes you'll actually spot fans wearing the Santurce royal blue script with the red numbers. It almost looks like a Dodger jersey if you're not paying attention. But that is a Roberto Clemente winter ball jersey from the Puerto Rican League. I just think it's really cool that like those two just all-time great outfielders at just the beginnings of their careers played together in winter ball and just dominated. That must have been like amazing to see. So I just thought that was really cool.
Like you read off that roster, and would you say 45-27 they went, or 47?
Yeah, 45 and is that right? 47-25. Yeah,
47-25.
They dominated.
Seems like a disappointing season. Like with that roster you just read off, and they only won 47 in those amount of games. I'm like, damn, that's a hell of a team right there, especially like a Puerto Rico league. Wow, that's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's still baseball.
Yeah.
You win a 30-year games, you lose a 30-year games, and what do you do with the other 30-year games? So the thing that also stood out to me in that, if anybody's a roster geek and was paying attention to the fact that Clemente had just signed a contract with the Dodgers that same year. So how was he eligible for the Rule 5 draft? Well, it's because they had very different rules back then. So Major League Baseball didn't even have an amateur draft at all until 1965. So this is back in 11 years prior to that. And the rules at that time were around the concept of high dollar bonuses would make unprotected players not on the Major League roster, available for selection in the Rule 5. So Clemente's high dollar contract with the Dodgers that they gave him in February of 54 was $10,000. Which was more than double the limit for being Rule 5 eligible. So I guess typically they would get below $4,000 to be considered a normal minor league contract back then. And so the Dodgers stashed him in their AAA Montreal Royals for 1954. And he didn't post too well. He only had a 657 OPS. And there were later accusations that they were trying to suppress his playing time there. And of course, the manager refused, like, no, absolutely not. That's, we're just getting everybody their development. But that the numbers that he was posting in that winter with Willie Mays in Puerto Rico is what really kind of put him on the map. Now, the Pirates had already scouted him. They knew about him because they were scouting some other players for the Dodgers at the time. But like, he cemented his selection, his him being the choice, the number one overall Rule 5 draft pick in that 1954 winter meetings, with his performance down in Puerto Rico.
And then clearly the rest was history.
And the rest was history. Yeah.
Well, that worked out well. So what a date. And
yeah, pretty cool. 70 years ago today.
Was amazing.
Another interesting fact that I saw looking up all of this stuff is Bob Thurman, that outfield that had Willie Mays in center, Roberto Clemente, and Bob Thurman. Clemente played left field. And Bob Thurman had an interview later where he was asked, why didn't Clemente play right field? And Bob Thurman said, I had the better arm. You can imagine that.
Right.
So, I mean, yeah, the three of them, I wonder if any balls touched the grass out there. Those guys out there, it must have been pretty cool. Don Zimmer actually got MVP in that. He went on to be more famous as a manager, but he got the MVP as the shortstop for that Santurce team in that Caribbean series. Cool stuff. Cool.
And as Jimmy says here, so Branch Rickey was a leader in bringing Jackie Robinson to Brooklyn and Roberto Clemente to Pittsburgh. So that's pretty cool. Just like a little side story here too, because you're bringing up Don Zimmer, not that he was part of this, but just going back to the old Brooklyn Dodgers here and Jackie. No, this isn't Clemente information, but yeah, I actually have a 48 Brooklyn Dodgers signed. It's 3 of them signed baseballs. So
cool.
Some pretty cool stuff.
Multiple players on them, or like just certain players from those
team.
teams?
Yeah,
nice.
Takes all 3 baseballs, but Pee Wee Reese, Jackie Robinson, I mean the whole shebang. So my great uncle was a cameraman for NBC. I don't know how or what he did to scoop this, but he got that baseball. So now it's mine and my brother's in a bank.
yeah, that's a treasure. I hope that's safe somewhere.
Right.
Pretty cool.
But cool. So tell you what, just quick thoughts before you go out of here. So the non-tenders today, what's your take on that?
I think it's the right move. I was not a fan of the De La Cruz acquisition when it happened. When he was rumored, I was against it. And so, when he showed up in Pittsburgh and just produced zero value, less than zero value, I was like, well, of course. So,
right.
I understand the worry that was, all over the fan base about how, typically the Pirates have their sunk cost fallacy problem where if they've traded anybody for anybody, they're going to just try to wring out every last ounce. But this was the right move. And with Connor Joe, likable ball player, especially in April and May. But it's the correct baseball move. And Billy Cook is every bit the player. He can cover more positions. He's a better defender in the outfield. He's probably just as good of a bat, and he costs 1/4 as much. So when you are as financially constrained as the Pirates are, it's hard to justify having a Connor Joe stay on the roster when you've got a slightly better version at a quarter of the cost also on the roster. So
Right.
I think Connor Joe will have no trouble latching on somewhere. I think he'll probably get a major league contract. That's not like assured. He might be an NRI somewhere, but I think he'll get a major league deal somewhere. I think he'll latch on. I think he's got a few more good years in him, but as a bench piece.
I agree. Cool. Well, OG, thanks for coming on. I'm sure we'll see you again here soon in the future.
Thanks for having me.
Have a good one. Absolutely.
All right, you too.
So as we've been saying here, if you do want to join, go ahead, click that link. It is in the chat here. I'll put it in once again. We have time for a few more here. So if you have something to say, want to talk about the non-tenders, go ahead and get on in. So we do have another guest here. Oh boy. Oh,
got over money.
Boy. What have I done? Unfortunately, I know who this is. Josh Ruga has joined the show. Josh, how you doing?
How you doing, DiNardo? I'm doing pretty well. Just got done Bible study here.
I'm doing all right.
Talk some Bucko baseball.
Did you eat your protein?
Yeah.
Good. So you're ready? You ready?
Yeah. We had chicken and rice for dinner tonight.
There it is. So I want to start off. Let's just ask you two. Been asking the rounds. I mean, what's your thoughts on the non-tenders tonight?
I kind of expected it. I was just, for me, just seeing that Brian De La Cruz has power. I was kind of trying to justify it. I was thinking about going back to what McHenry was saying regarding Bednar, and maybe thinking about offering 2 years at a lesser dollar amount for De La Cruz to keep him around. But then again, he doesn't play good enough defense in the outfield. And then the other thing he's got going against him is he's old enough now, so you can't really send him to winter ball and be like, hey, I need you to work on some things. It's all going to happen in spring training for him if it's going to happen at all. So he's going to be 28 this coming season. So you really couldn't justify the raise that he was going to get. So, and Connor Joe, your last guest, he covered it perfectly with Billy Cook. So,
yep. That's really where I'm at. I mean, again, I like Connor Joe. I think he provides value to this team, and I would like to keep him. But I just feel if there's a lot of upgrades that are needed, and if you're going to be able to maximize your dollars to put them to work, you got to find ways to cut corners. And one of them is, we have a Billy Cook. Can we just non-tender Connor Joe, replace him with Billy Cook, and that frees up some money to put towards something you need. So again, it just is what it is. But I think he's a fine player. He'll latch on somewhere else, and all the success to Connor Joe. Brian De La Cruz, I never liked it to begin with. I jokingly said, we're talking about this trade deadline in 365 days. You might be talking about a guy that you're looking to, DFA, and it didn't even last that long. Here we are today. So I'm perfectly fine with it. But that's cool. So move past that. What do you got to say? What's on your mind, Ruga?
Yeah, the one thing that I was looking forward to with Brian De La Cruz was the possibility of him working with Matt Hague as the new hitting coach. So Matt Hague, he was a 298 hitter as a minor leaguer, and he played quite a few seasons in the minor leagues. He has maybe 100 big league at bats in his career. And he didn't hit as well in the big leagues as he did in the minors. But obviously, this guy knows how to hit. He didn't get the nickname Hit Collector from Clint Hurdle for no reason. So, and then there's the piece of it that the players all Isaiah Kiner-Falefa and several other players from Toronto have said good things about Matt Hague as part of the hitting instruction team there in Toronto. And then you look at the fan base reaction, and the Toronto fans were kind of disappointed that he wasn't promoted to the head of their hitting program. So while we don't know exactly what Matt Hague's going to do for this Pirates offense, one thing we do know about him is he's going to increase the contact rates. And there's nobody outside of O'Neal Cruz that really crushes the ball for the Pirates. Reynolds probably tops out, like maybe his best home run season ever will be 30 home runs.
Which is still good.
Yeah. But like Cruz, you expect him to kind of break that plateau of so many seasons in a row without 40 home runs. You expect him to break that at some point. So he's on he's like head and shoulders above the rest of the personnel there on the Pirates offense as far as hitting the ball out of the yard. So it'll be interesting to see what that higher contact approach does for guys like O'Neal Cruz, and hopefully somebody that they bring in who hits for some more power at either the first base or corner outfield positions. I was keeping an eye on at the non-tender deadline. It looks like he was tendered a contract, but he was on the non-tender candidate list. MJ Melendez from Kansas City. He's going to be 26 on opening day. So there's a possibility if Kansas City upgrades in the outfield that the Pirates could make a move for a guy like him. Another off-season trade with the Kansas City Royals for athletic.
Yeah, well, the last one didn't go so well, Rugo. So
yeah, well, this time around it's a left-handed hitter. So
though I had higher hopes for it.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, because we've gone back and forth this. I want to know something here. You're stamping your name. I'll say that. Matt Hague is the guy. And I think what we've said is, like we're cautiously optimistic.
Yes.
There's a lot of things that I do like about Matt Hague. And like you said, the contact rate, there's stuff that that Toronto has done and you anticipate he's going to bring here.
Yes.
Why are you so gung-ho? Why do you believe Matt Hague is the guy and will be successful?
I believe that he's the guy and he will be successful because he's a good communicator. Just seeing some of his interviews recently, he communicates well. So there's never going to be a mystery between he and the players he's coaching about what he's trying to get across. So it'll be a matter of execution. And a lot of this is like Andy Haynes, he preached a hitting approach and philosophy that resulted in a lot of strikeouts looking because
for sure
he wanted them to take a lot of pitches. Hague's looking to attack the best pitch that you see. First best pitch. Put that ball in play, put it in play hard. Use the whole field. And it kind of mirrors his approach as a hitter, okay? And you got to take a step back and look at what he did in the minor leagues.
Right.
And he's asking big leaguers to kind of replicate that and morph into that guy. So if O'Neal Cruz, like we saw O'Neal Cruz actually take a step in that direction with his 260 plus batting average. That was a little bit higher than we would have expected based on his rookie season results and everything we saw with strikeout rates in the minor leagues, everything like that.
And especially how he ended the year too. Like he took another step within the season.
Yeah. So Cruz is the guy that I really think is going to benefit from this approach. And if it looks like year one, 25 home runs and 50 doubles, guess what? I'm cool with that.
Okay, cool. No, again, I like that perspective. And like I said, about Hague, I'm definitely intrigued by him. I have hope for him, but there's still a lot of unknown, and that's just like, it just is what it is. And sometimes with the unknown, like that's just, it's untapped, and that's where you find a gem, right? The diamond in the rough. I think he has the potential to be that, for the Pirates, but there's just still a lot that, like, I can understand where fans look at this and say, well, who the hell is Matt Hague? And he was a terrible player. This is the Pirates going to get. Sounds about right. And again, like fans are fans, and that's what they see. That's perspective. they're not all that knowledgeable. And the Pirates do this themselves a lot of times. Like when the Pirates for 30 years plus, right, have had 4 winning seasons, most of the times they're not doing things the correct way. A lot of times they're doing things that aren't working out. So that trickles down, and as fans will look at this, they can say, well, I don't know who the hell that is. Sounds like the Pirates being cheap to me, probably not going to work out. So like, I understand that perspective, but I'm with you. Like, throw caution out to that mindset. There's certainly some optimism for Matt Hague.
Yeah. One last thing on him. It looks like based on what he's put together as a resume with Toronto is he's a baseball guy. Okay. He was a minor league veteran. He stuck around the game. He kept with it. So he knows the game. But then on the other hand, he embraces the analytics enough to consider them, but not live by them. They are not the ultimate rule. And I love that kind of mix going into it. So I have hopes for him. I liked him as a player. I thought there was a good chance that he would take over and win that first base job and produce like James Loney did throughout his big league career, but it didn't work out for him as a player. But he's got a second go round to redeem himself as a coach here. Much needed.
James Loney, that's a comp right there. Yeah. That's a name I've heard in a while also. James Loney, man. Shout out to James Loney, who apparently ended his year in the Mets, and I don't remember that happening.
Yeah, the Pirates were interested in him.
Yeah. Well, they've been interested in a lot of first basemen because, like the first guest said, they haven't found much success there.
Yeah.
But Ruga, appreciate you coming on the show. Any last words before you go?
I'm looking forward to the season. It's going to be led by pitching, and go Bucks. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We'll see you in the future, I'm sure too.
Yeah, have a good one.
You too. All right, so that basically wraps up. No other guests have joined to come on. So that pretty much wraps up our show for this week. I do want to give a shout out to Nathan, OG Minlow, Joshua, Ruga, all joining, talking the stuff, talking about the non-tenders and everything else. And with that said, in 2 weeks, we'll be back again, probably new host, new stuff to discuss, talk. So once again, if you want your chance to get on here to guarantee a spot, go into our Discord. That's where we funnel these on, like our first 2 guests. And who knows, maybe in the future, we'll be able to pick up some more people through YouTube as well. But to make sure you do, definitely, like I said, get into that Discord. That said, we're done with this show. We'll be back on Saturday with another Starbucks. Then, of course, we have our NS9 Live, and The Point returns next Friday. So, with that said, we'll see y'all later. Bye-bye.
All right, that wraps up this episode of North Shore 9. Thanks so much for tuning in. Whether you're listening on the podcast or catching us on YouTube, if you enjoyed the show, please give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It really helps us grow. And if you're listening on the podcast, a quick review goes a long way in helping others find the show. Plus, be sure to tell a friend about us. There's always room for more here in the NS9 community. And for those looking to support us a little more, consider joining our Patreon, become an MVP member, and get exclusive perks while helping us continue to bring you more of the Pirates content you love. Thanks again for all your support, and let's go Bucks.